What's up, everybody? Well, 1,000 years ago, let's just move back in time. You went down to the corner of your local market, and you and your family are out shopping, and somebody gives you some exchange of silver for the food you buy, let's say. And you get home and you find out that that silver is actually plated silver over some other lesser valuable metal. Or let's say you go down to the market and you use your silver to buy food, and you get home and find out that food is rotten inside, or that it has been disguised as something else. What is the natural reaction? Well, you get together with your family and your friends, and you go down to that market and you get your money back, or else beat the shit out of the people who sold you garbage. Now, this is something that has gone on through history. If you find out you've gotten ripped off, you go out and you get back your your goods. It doesn't always work. There are times when societies have too much protection for one group and there's nothing you can do about it. Kind of the situation we're in now. But let's move beyond commerce and let's talk about leadership. Go back a couple thousand years and you're living in a small tribe and the medicine man gives you some bad advice. Well, that could just be a fluke, just a bad moment, bad decision. Let's say the medicine man starts giving everyone bad advice and starts giving them some medicine that is actually killing people, or giving them ideas that really aren't helping the society. What do the people do? They go down and they change their leader, right? Or they change their medicine man, or they kick their asses out and say, we don't want you here anymore. Now in our modern world we have protections. We have protections against the thieves, protections for the leaders, for the presidents, for the, whatever society you live in, there's protections for large corporations and large, let's just say powerful leaders that cannot be easily dismissed by groups of people who disagree with them. And I believe that that's where we're at right now. As a society, we are forced to reckon with, if a leader makes a bad decision, you can't go down and talk to them about it. Let's say your president does something stupid. Can you talk to the president? Of course not. You have to write a letter to your congressman, who writes a letter to their congresspeople, who writes a letter to somebody who may or may not relay that information. So therefore the people don't feel like their voices are heard. Well, it's the same way if you get ripped off. I was looking at all these scams online, and actually I just got a text from somebody who said, oh, your account is in bad standing, or this will protect you against COVID-19. And I've been getting a lot of texts lately about these products that are going to save me from this virus, right? Somehow I got on a mailing list or a phone list where I get texts every day for somebody named Heather. Somebody's maybe either signed me up for something as a joke or whatever it might be, but I'm disgusted with all the scams out there, because whatever's happening in the world, people will try to scam you with. If you are desperately worried about your health, people will tell you you're dying. If you're desperately worried about leadership, people will tell you you're going to get screwed over by your leaders. And we end up in a society where there's a bunch of leeches, leeching off of one another, trying to get every penny they can out of others, and saying it's just business as usual. And maybe this is why I'm a nihilist. Maybe this is why I'm secretly rooting for this virus to take society out. No, I don't want people to die. I want our current commercial system, commercial, our current politics to completely die. I really do. And I've thought about this a lot over the last month. I've thought, that's nihilistic. We've worked so hard to get to where we're at. And then I really thought, no, we haven't. We haven't worked hard to get where we're at. We as individuals haven't done fucking shit. We've sat on our asses while the leaders just told us what to believe. They've told us what to think. They've told us what's important. It's all about nationalism and protecting, the nation. All the way to the point where there were actually people the other day on the media, in the news, saying basically that the old people should sacrifice their lives for the economy. That was a wake-up call, hopefully for a lot of people, to realize that human life pales in comparison to the value of the economy. And if you think that the economy means anything except for human life, you've completely drastically missed the idea of life. The idea that anyone should sacrifice their life for an economy, to me, is absolutely appalling. Don't give a shit what you think about it. I don't give a shit if you think that America is the greatest nation on earth. And I really don't give a shit if you love Trump or hate Trump, because it's gone so far beyond that. We're living in a civilization where I wouldn't even call it civil, you know? It's disgusting. You know, I'm reading this book right now called Spillover. It's really good. I think it's about 80 pages in. And it's Animal Infections and the Next Human Pandemic. It was written about 10 years ago. But pretty much lays out the groundwork for where we're at right now. And some of the information in there leads you to wonder whether these viruses are, you know, in other words, why do they exist? People say, well, they're not conscious. They don't produce with DNA, let's say, some of them the way that we do. They use RNA, and then they use our cells to reproduce. So how are they conscious? How are they aware of what they're infecting? They're not, right? Well, the Earth is aware, in my opinion. Now, this is where I'm coming down to my own opinions on this. People say, well, viruses aren't alive. They don't know what they're doing. And I would say, true. But as a whole, the Earth knows what it's doing. And that's my opinion. I believe in a Gaian hypothesis. I believe that the Earth is aware of itself and that it will kick the shit out of anybody who tries to abuse it. And humans have just gotten to the point now where, you know, we're becoming a nuisance. It's not that the virus here was specifically sent to take us out, but rather it's a result of overpopulation in any certain area. It's happened with various animal species and microbes. You know, viruses are more plentiful than anything on Earth. They're not something that just we can get rid of or just infects a few people or a few species. Viruses are part of our lives everywhere. And when they decide that human life isn't worth saving, it makes you wonder whether nature is more correct than we are. So we've built these silly little like realities about what's important, the economy. Do you realize, and I'm just going to finish it here because I could go on and I'll probably sound like some liberal cuck, whatever the fuck name you want to give it. I don't give a shit. I really, really don't give a shit. I believe in equality and fairness towards, you know, for all people as long as they're putting in their effort to be good people. It's really that simple. And when I hear terms like the economy, I don't care about the economy. And some people may think, well, that's just ridiculous and you're nihilistic and you're arrogant. Yes, maybe so. But I do not care about the economy. My true, deepest feelings about this virus is I hope it wipes the economy right off the face of the earth. And I know that that will cost lives. I know that will cost maybe even my life. Maybe humankind will never be the same. But if we can look back and say, whoa, look at what we have accomplished by realizing we're not the top of the food chain, you know, that maybe nature knows what's best in some way, shape, or form. And people may disagree. I know that there are plenty of folks out there who are laughing at me thinking, that's ridiculous. Viruses just happen. It's just some fluke chance by random evolution, and that's just what happens. So be it, but it's here. And it's not going to stop unless our attitudes change. You see what I'm saying? You can't get it to go away by just ignoring it or fighting against it with drones like we have with other enemies, if you will. And we know this because humans are willingly staying inside and isolating themselves because they want to protect their fellow man. So there's part of me that says humankind is worth saving. We actually care about one another. We understand these things. We understand social distancing, trying to, you know, protect our future. But our leadership and many of our, like, the people that we trust are telling us differently because they want to preserve the economy. They want to preserve money, the status quo, and none of that matters. All that really matters is whether we are fed and we have shelter. If you can give me any opinion beyond that, I would be more than willing to look at it. But nothing matters to humans more than food, water, shelter, and purpose. And many of us have no purpose because we're stuck playing this game that's created by mankind, and this idea that we need to get a job as a, in economics or in some big company as a CEO because that's what success is. And it's become so disgusting and appalling to me that the only way I can see this changing is by a major upheaval and annihilation of a huge part of society. Not people, but the way we do business. And people will go along with that. Do I think that this is the, beginning of some great thing? No. I mean, it could be, but I think that eventually this will fade from mind and people will go back to their usual nonsense attitudes about making money and keeping the stock market going. To me, I see the stock market as a completely useless appendage. It's not even an appendage. It's a completely useless growth on society that really means nothing. To 99.9% of the people on Earth, the stock market doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And for some reason, they convince people to believe that it really does mean something for everyone. It doesn't. Your life's not going to change a lot if the stock market crashes. Your life's not going to change a lot if Boeing can't make their income. Your life is not going to change a lot just because the cruise lines can't operate. So we'll see where this ends up. I know it sounds a little bit brutal on my end, but there's a part of me that's been waiting for this for a long time and expecting it. I'm not surprised. It hasn't really given me much upheaval in my personal thoughts, other than having my family here more so we can all interact and talk about these things together. Pretty much my life is the same. I've always been pretty much broke. I've always been wondering whether things were going to change. I've always been, we'll see what happens next. That's my attitude. If you don't have the attitude in life of shit can change overnight, then you're going to miss the whole point. You're going to be devastated and distraught as things change. So there's my ramble for the day. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't even want to make videos at this time in history. It seems like pointless because all I'm talking about is what's going on right now with the virus, but what else is there to talk about in a time like this? These are the things that have been in the back of my mind for decades, and so here we are. We'll see how we deal with it. I'm not saying that I don't care about people or society in general. I'm just saying that the way that things are operating right now, I really think that everything needs to fall apart to start over again. It's like when you get so frustrated with building a house of cards, you just go, fuck it, knock it over, start over again with a better foundation. Life is complicated. What else can I say?